Hey everybody, Barry here again. I promise I won't make the same mistake that I did last time and delete like half my video. So this is going to be a nice solid one that's beginning, middle, and end, and it's going to be nice and fluid. All good. What I have on the docket for today is to finish all the wiring, hopefully like actually finish it all. And what that's going to include is setting this harness up to where it needs to actually be, deal with all my plugins for the outputs. I'll deal with the ones I actually need and wire up this stuff here to my fuse block. And what I'm going to do with this wiring is have it kind of stuffed over in here, kind of like this, if I can get it to go in there. And just kind of have it laid over like this with the wiring going across, but it'll be tucked away a lot better. And I'm going to loom up all this wire right here, have all of this tucked into the inner fender, and hopefully this is pretty much all you're going to see. By the time I'm done, we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to set it up on time lapse and start wiring, and I'll stop periodically and just kind of explain where I am. And I have to wire up my two-step wire. I've got to wire up the brake pedal TCC switch, and it's going to be a handful of stuff. So it's going to be a lot of tedious connecting and joining and splicing wires, and it's going to be fun. And hopefully by the end of it, I can turn the key, push the button, and it should fire up. And then I can start reassembly. That's where the fun begins. Well, I'm getting some wiring done, and I'm so glad that I labeled all the wires because I never would have figured it out if not. So everything is all labeled up here. Everything that I had to do yet, like the electric fans, wideband, all that fun stuff. So I got at the transbrake wiring first just to get that out of the way and to give me a distance of how long the wires needed to be. So every wire is going to be around the same length, and that way my plug-in is going to be out in the fender here, well away from everything else. My last transbrake wire is this one right here. So that's transbrake relay to pin 86, which I have labeled right here, which is going to be really hard to see. Oh, be nice. Anyway, it's down there somewhere, that green one. And it has to be switched. So I'm going to run that in through the firewall over to the back of my transbrake switch, that one right there, and then run another wire back out to the transbrake pin down here. And I wired everything into the harness so that I didn't have to go make extra separate grounds and stuff. I actually took care of that by using the ground that's in the harness. So it made it a lot faster for me in this step, so I don't have to run 3 or 4 separate grounds for other things. So I'm gonna continue on, pull that dash back out again, and I'll probably run my wideband wires at the same time because I'm already in there, and I'll still keep it one thing at a time because I don't want to get confused and switch up one wire by accident and then I'm chasing trouble. But yeah, keep on plugging away. I'd like to have this thing running for the end of this video. Well, for the moment, it looks messier than it did before. So transbrake wiring is all done. I got that wired into the fuse block, out to the plug-in, and right up back to the switch again. And I also got, while I was in here, the wideband wiring sorted out. I have it plugged into the back of the gauge here and ran it under the dash out through the firewall like it was. And now I can put all this back together and everything will work. Lots of wiring getting done tonight. I'm starting to get my inputs or my outputs all done. The only thing I have left now is a TCC brake switch and the electric fan output, which only has to run right here. I think this one is fan control. Yep, that's it. So I'm just gonna connect that one across to here, run my 12-volt power up to the fuse block here. I'll crimp another connector on, make it look a lot cleaner. And then I've got to loom up all this wiring back here that runs to all the spots on the fuse block there. So far, a lot of progress going, but got a lot more work to do, so I'm going to plug away at it. Well, I'm slowly making some progress, a little bit at a time. Well, I guess one wire at a time. Everything here is pretty much done. Fan wire has gone over to the fan relay back behind here. The fan wire 12 volt has gone up here. That is the relay trigger. Every other wire now is connected except for the TCC brake switch, torque converter, lockup switch. So I'm gonna have to go inside, so I won't bother filming this because it's gonna be a pain to get the camera in there. But I have to look for a wire that has 12 volts when the brake pedal is not touched. And when you push the brake pedal, it cuts power. The torque converter wants to see power, or the transmission, PCM, whatever, wants to see power until you push the brake and then it cuts power. So if I can't find a wire that is 12 volts, like that, then I'll have to hook up a 5-pin relay to a wire that has 12 volts when you push the pedal and just wire it backwards. So when I find my wiring, I'll explain it a little bit further then. Okay, so I did find what I was looking for, and I have a light down there, so I might be able to get the camera up close enough to actually show you what I have going on and can explain it a little bit further. With the key on, my negative is over here grounded to the body. My positive I stuffed into each wire until I found 12 volts. And watch what happens when I press the brake. 0. So when I press the brake, it cuts voltage. Let go of the brake, 12 volts again, or 11.5 because my battery's getting a bit low. Press the brake, nothing. So that's the wire I'm looking for. Which on this Caravan, well, nobody will ever actually need this, but it is, looks to be the blue with the green stripe wire. It's kind of hard to see, but I'll use this for reference. Blue with the green stripe. So that looks like it's going to work perfect. I don't have to go wiring in 5-pin relays with a bunch of ground switches. That's a pain. So it's perfect to actually have that wire, because I would imagine this being an automatic electronically controlled, it had a lockup torque converter anyway where it would use the brake pedal to deactivate that. And I wouldn't be able to do this without LT1swap.com. Right here, everything you need, external connections, 12 volt battery, key 12 volt, fuel pump relay, brake switch signal. Every bit of information for all this LS swap stuff with the electronic wiring, fuel injection, everything, transmission is all on that site. I'm relaying information as best that I can, as best as I understand it. We're getting super close. All of the outputs and inputs are done, so I can kind of clean all that up and tape it up the best I can, loom it. Now the only things left are the battery hot wires, which are these two labeled right here, and the rest of them are PCM ignition wires, which are going to go up this harness, follow this wiring here, and come up into these 3 spots right here. Don't worry about this mess here. I'll clean all that up and loom it also, so it'll look a lot cleaner. That's all going to go down around here. And these are my 3 PCM inputs, and the battery hots are going to go up here on their own fuse. Well. This is looking much better. I've still got to tear all the tape off of these wires here. That'll clean it up a lot. Let's do that now. Get rid of all that nasty looking tape. I know what everything is now. So that can go. And hopefully I don't break anything. But now that I said it, I'm probably going to break something. Sweet. Oh, I love it. Looks really good. All the wiring I know is kind of tangly, but it goes in there, and I'll make some sort of, I don't know, some sort of a mount just to hold all that in place. But I think all the wiring is done. I think I can start it now with the key and the push button. Before, I had a little switch right here that I used to go click and turn it on, and then another push button that went click to turn that on. That was a pain. That was no good for anything. So I'm going to grab my laptop, put the tune in this thing, the latest updated tune, where I smoothed out the VE table and kind of played with the timing a little bit, so hopefully it'll idle a little bit better, but we'll see. It's time. Oh, I can't wait to see if this thing starts. Hopefully it does. Alrighty, let's load us a tune. Ooh, fuel pump cuts in. Wideband works. I got it hooked up to the fuel pump relay, so when you first turn on the key, it'll only prime the pump, so this only turns on for a second. When I start it, it should turn on and stay on. We'll check that in a second. All right, let's hit right. Did I make you seasick? Okay, and now I'll run a log. This is going to take 15 minutes to load. Now, key on. Start the log. Make sure there's nothing out by that crank pulley. That's good. It's probably going to make a state of dirt. Hopefully everything works. Okay, let's see. Ooh, we got something. Hey! Alrighty, we know it runs on the key now. And let's check oil pressure while it was idling.
348 kPa. See what that is in the conversion. kPa, 348. 50 pounds oil pressure at idle. Here we go. So let's check over here farther. Right up to the end. 335 kPa. Still up around 50 pounds.
I'm really confident in this engine. Not too confident because I don't want it to blow up, but it's a good start. There's no lifter ticks. Like, this engine hasn't been running in a couple of years. Before the other day I fired it up for like 10 seconds and there's no lifter noise at all. I did replace a couple of push rods and a couple of the rockers because the tops of them were sanded really bad. If you look at a lot of LS engines, you'll see that. But this is a major good start.
And look at the engine bay. This is the best that it's looked ever.
Now, I don't mean to paint because there is none, but the wiring is the best that I have done ever. I really do like the fuse panel and the PCM mount. I'm a big fan of that. It's kind of cool to see the oil filter hanging out right there.
And now
I can start putting everything back together, I think. Oh, although I should see what gear it's commanding.
Sure if it'll do it in park, but okay, I'll start a new log. And I'll just hold down the transbrake button to see what gear. Right now it says second gear, so maybe that's just...
Okay, so for that test, I'm going to have to be actually in the vehicle with the brake on, down in drive, to see if it's going to command third gear or not. If it doesn't, I'll go back through my wiring videos, make sure I did everything absolutely correct. I'm sure it did, because I had everything labeled. I took my time with it, didn't rush anything. But there's always a small chance that I missed a ground or something like that. So I'll worry about that in another time when I get this thing actually moving. Right now, I'm going to absolutely love the victory for getting it running, getting the wiring done. And I'm going to go put this thing back together. But that's going to be in the next video, because this one's getting quite long.
That'll be putting the radiator and intercooler on, the front bumper, and...
Actually, there's not much more than that. I thought it was going to be a lot more. It's not bad at all. I'm perfectly fine with that.
Oh, and I guess I really should put a cooler on that. I only got that laid there so I could actually get it running. I think there is fluid pressure in it. But yeah, I'll cut it off back here farther, run hose along the frame rail up to the cooler up here somewhere.
But we'll be able to visualize that a lot better when the radiator's there. So, on that note, thanks again for watching. Thanks for liking, subscribing. Thanks for sharing the videos. I appreciate it. I see that you guys share when I put them on my Facebook group, which is Station Road Rat Rods YouTube, by the way, if you want to join it. And some people share them for me. That's awesome. That helps people like you get here and watch me. And on another note, thanks again to my patrons on Patreon. And if you would like to become a patron, it is patreon.com/Station Road Rat Rods. And thanks for watching, and have a great night, everybody.